with that said, who do we have from MalwareBytes? I see Robert is obviously.
Samantha is as well.
And then
Okay.
as Whitney and Alex. Whitney and Alex also support me.
All right, awesome. So who is going to be doing the most of the talking?
That would be Mr. Elworthy. He is our SC and the man who knows all things MalwareBytes.
Nice, very
Has
good.
all the great answers.
All right. So yeah, let's start with that. Alex, why don't you go ahead and give a little, maybe all of you guys kind of give a little overview of who you are from MalwareBytes, a high level of your journey and why you're with us today, and we can go from there into kind of a discussion of the tool or tools.
Go ahead, Alex.
Hi, everybody. Nice to meet you guys. I'm Alex Weeks with MalwareBytes. Obviously, I'm the inside channel account manager, so I support Sam on the excuse me, the whole Western United States. And I am here just as added support along with Whitney.
Cool.
I'll go next since you said my name, Alex. I am Whitney Miller. I am the Director of North America Channel and Distribution here at MalwareBytes. I've been in tech for almost 20 years. I have been in a bunch of different capacities. I did a lot of tech support for a while for a couple of large banking institutions. I did sales on the reseller side of the house for about 8 years. And then I've done a lot in the backup and security industry. So I'm here to support Sam. I'm here to support the team here. If you guys need anything at all, I'm happy to help out.
Very good. Who's next from MalwareBytes?
I'll go very quickly and then I'll have Robert go because I think he has an interesting story that will be more relevant to what we're doing. I've also been in the tech industry for about 20 years. I came over from hardware, switched over to cybersecurity about 5 years ago. It is my passion, something I'm very, have a lot of strong thoughts on, trying to make sure everyone is protected and everything that they do, from education to hospitals to everything like that. So I mainly support your account. But as you see, Alex and Whitney are also my backups. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to any of us. I'll let Robert take it away because Robert has an interesting story. Just a quick spoiler. He used to be a customer and that's how he came over to MalwareBytes.
Nice.
So Robert, go ahead and take it away and I'll let you get into the presentation.
Yeah, so first of all, I'm Robert Elworthy. I'm a senior solutions engineer here at MalwareBytes, and today is exactly my 2nd year anniversary here. So this webinar was perfectly timed. But, prior to that, where did I come from or how did I get to MalwareBytes? I was a director of IT and a security architect for a privately owned company. We had 26 affiliates, and under that purview, or I was the one that was over the purview of those particular entities. Ended up moving to MalwareBytes as my solution, was a customer for MalwareBytes for over 6+ years. And then I made the leap to come to this side of the world. So kind of along the lines of how Samantha said, I think my approach in this is, I think like a defender. I'm on this side, and that's one of the biggest joys I get is just talking to people about cybersecurity and also listening to their needs and wants and seeing where we are a good technical fit.
Cool, very good. Do you have a presentation for us today, or how would you like to proceed? Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna get it up. Let me pull
Very
it up
good.
quick. Second. I'm kind of toying between which two I wanted to pull, but I'm gonna go ahead and pull this one.
For the folks that are with us too, a reminder that if you have questions, you can either just shout them out or throw them into the chat, and we'll get to those. Likely, as with most times, I'll have a number of questions too, so.
Well, feel free. Very interactive type of presenter.
Cool.
Like Sam and Whitney and Alex knows. My whole thing is just really ask a question. You can ask me in the middle of the sentence. I'll definitely answer it. But just kind of give you a quick overview of the breadth of our solution stacks. And not everything is actually even on this one slide. There's 3 main types of endpoint security products that we have. First is our incident response. That's where our remediation technology starts. Then the second one is going to be our endpoint protection. It'll also contain our remediate capabilities, but also our detect and protect. So you'll notice that as we go through these solution stacks, it kind of retros to the one previous. And then the third one is our EDR, or endpoint detection and response. And that's where we add that respond and recover capabilities. And from there, for those entities that might have either a low amount of employees on their IT staff, or just really need some managed or won't manage services, we do have a full-blown MDR service. That's where they'll take the EDR, they'll manage that for you. They'll be able to go in and take all of the different threats that you might see from the EDR aspect and take care of that 24/7, 365. We also have modules or add-on modules. So as you see needs, depending on the modules we have, you can bolt those on top of either of those 3 endpoint security products. Like I said, not all of them are on this particular slide, but we do have a vulnerability assessment and a patch management module. We have a DNS filtering module. We have a cloud storage scanning module. We also have a application block module and mobile security. And I'll try to go over some of those later on in this PowerPoint. And then from there, integrations. So we have integrations. We also have APIs if you want to build your own kind of integration. We have syslog capabilities, and we're always looking to kind of grow out those integrations and make everything just kind of work in your environment. And that's really what it's about. It's just trying to take all of your different cybersecurity resources and vendors and have us all play nice with each other. So we're just kind of starting out with IR, incident response. What is incident response for us? So incident response is where it's before a real-time protection type of technology. We have some of the strengths here on the slide, and this is where we get a lot of customers that really like this capability. This is where we're able to go what I'd call post-infection. In other words, no real-time protection. We're not sitting there and turning on anything that would catch something live, or excuse me, as it's executed, because that's not what this particular solution set does. It has the ability to go in after something and go find it, go remediate it. And that's where we kind of were born out of that kind of capability. We see a lot of customers that come to us to say, hey, I've used MalwareBytes in the past, a lot of times from our consumer aspect. And, they'll tell us, hey, I had a computer, I had vendor, whatever on this computer, or no vendor. And I got infected. So I threw MalwareBytes on it, and I was really amazed at what it found. So the business side or the enterprise side of this solution stack is that, you have 2 ways in which you can use it. You can use it as an agent sitting on the endpoint. Now this agent will just basically waiting for someone to give it a command. And you have an agent list, and the agent list, they just kind of give you a quick overview. That's where you'll be able to run it, but run it once. So run once, we load it in memory, we do our scan, we give you results, we shut back down, no persistent type of service running. The agent's where you do have a persistent type of service. One of the things that I didn't mention earlier is all 3 of these solution stacks will come with a management console. So those kind of things, as you say you're looking at a particular solution stack, we'll start with IR. And you want to move up to EP or EDR, not a problem. Your management console stays the same. We'll turn on some more capabilities. Same thing with the agent. You don't have to redeploy agents. So as we go through this, just know that if you do go one route, you want to scale up or down, that's all possible by just telling us what fits better in your environment. Like I said, thorough remediation to remove all artifacts is something that we're very, very well known for. This third one, comprehensive PUP and POM detection and removal. I can't tell you how many times I've been on calls with customers and just talking to people, and that's something that seems like a lot of our competitors do kind of gloss over or just don't even really put that high on their list. So we are very good, at going in and finding those potentially unwanted programs or potentially unwanted modifications, detecting them and being able to remove them for you. And then just kind of skipping forward, one of the good things about this particular solutions, or where we see it sometimes fit in, is where you could take any team. So no matter whatever their their privileges are, and allow them to use this particular technology to go in and scan a machine. They don't necessarily have to have access to the endpoint, like I said, because you do get a management console and you control it from a SaaS-based management. Now getting into our real-time protection. So our endpoint protection is the beginning of a real-time protection. MalwareBytes is known for being able to play well with others. We do also have a threat remediation map that will show where customers do use us sometimes in tandem with their particular solutions. We have 7 layers that are contained in this particular beginning of this solution stack. And so just kind of go over a few of them. Is number 1 is our web protection. And its main job is to sit there and look for any websites, URLs, domains that are either compromised, meaning that some threat actor or some hacker has already kind of taken control of, or that it is harboring or is connected to some kind of malicious, say malware, ransomware, or something that you just don't want in your environment. And we'll proactively block it. So it's nothing you have to do on your end. You just enable it in the policy and we take care of it for you. The application hardening is just simply we do watch your applications. Most of your files do not execute without the actual application. So we are able to watch the applications. We know the applications. We know how they're supposed to work in a good way. And that allows us to stay kind of lighter as a footprint on your environment and your resources. Because again, the file itself can't execute unless it's opened by the application. We do have an anti-exploit or the exploit mitigation, so that's also baked into our layers. We do have behavioral type of capabilities. We also have anomaly detection and machine learning, so that's getting into the AI kind of capabilities. We do have a payload analysis, and then we have an anti-ransomware. And that's another thing that we're very well known for, and we're really proud of it, is just trying our best to let's make sure you don't get ransomware in your environment. But if you ever do or something gets passed, we do have an answer for it, but I'm going to tell you about that a little bit later. So our EDR, our endpoint detection and response. So where our EDR is, again, a little bit different maybe sometimes than our competitors, but also, what is the capabilities or what else do you get with EDR? Our endpoint detection and response will still contain everything that we talked about with EP and that IR capability. But that's where we take this to a further level. Really, EDR is out there for multiple reasons, but realistically where it's at is that, things that may get past an endpoint protection. It's being able to give a way to, to defend or, to detect, to isolate or prevent and remediate, this particular event or whatever the infection is. Ours also comes with a way to investigate threat hunting capabilities, and then our proprietary ransomware rollback, or which we'll go through in a little bit more, few slides. So our isolation capabilities. MalwareBytes is the only company I know of that actually has 3 modes of isolation. So we do have a network isolation. So if you need to isolate an endpoint from a network capability, you can turn that on. That will allow us to basically cover your network traffic, but also not allow any kind of communication, what is east-west or basically laterally in your environment, or north-south, which is internal, external, trying to contain that particular device or devices and allowing them from spreading an infection. The second mode of isolation is called process isolation, and process isolation, once you enable that, will block all processes on your endpoint minus the operating system in our solution, but allows you to kind of stop something dead in its tracks, whether it's in memory or not, and being able to just simply turn it off, and nothing else can run outside of what the operating system needs in our solution. Again, to kind of keep it contained or isolated, at the same time give you time to go in and do your threat hunting and decide your remediation capabilities or needs. And then the third one is what we call our desktop isolation. And this is a isolation capability that can expel a profile or basically kick out a user. So whether they're physically on the endpoint or say they're remoted in for whatever reason, you can have that, or as well as physical access to the device. So when you turn on desktop isolation, we'll take away the ability to add a username and password to get into the endpoint until whoever the admin is in your management console takes that isolation off. So those three together, we pretty much give you a good way to put an extreme amount of isolation capabilities and make sure that, again, that this is not infecting your environment or spreading throughout your environment, making the problem not become larger and giving you a way to keep it, like I said, at your control. Yeah, I mentioned that I would talk about our ransomware rollback technology. And I'm just going to kind of go a high level here, but feel free to ask questions if somebody wants a little bit more detail. So our ransomware rollback technology is proprietary. You will find that a lot of companies will tell you they have a ransomware rollback, and they do, but they leverage what's called volume shadow copying. Threat actors know about it. We know they know about it. We know that they will, one of the first things they will do after they start trying to encrypt files is they'll delete those volume shadow copying. So with ours, the way it works is that we're sitting on the endpoint. We're able to filter those events. We will make a copy of the file in what's called just in time. In other words, we make a backup of the file onto your endpoint before the actual process that's doing the encryption can encrypt the file. So that's where you see that we made the backup. The ransomware actually, the attack happens. This normally comes into play when something is, again, 0-day or something that is known to evade around that EP type of capability. We're going to alert you in a suspicious activity. You can look at that activity. Again, you can remediate, you can roll back, you can isolate some of the things we just talked about. But we're going to alert you, let you know about it. We're going to give you up to 72 hours to have us or give the ability, to tell us to take those backups that we made, put them back into place, and take all of those files that were encrypted and get rid of them or delete them. And hence, that's where we're doing the rollback here and taking you back to that clean and healthy state. And one of the key benefits here is we're not trying to replace a backup solution. Feel free, and we definitely recommend keeping your backup solutions and definitely test them and make sure that you have your policies around it. But it's really operational. So it's where ransomware is so dangerous and so negative impact to an environment. But I think sometimes it's known that it can be let's say detrimental to your continuity, or even just take your network down or your environment down. That's what I meant by the operational, is being able to take those backups, not having to go find the backups, which version was the last one, being able to get them back on that endpoint and getting that endpoint up and running, get that end user, whoever's using it, back to working, and again, get that endpoint into a clean and healthy state. One thing I don't have on here is we also have what's called an active response shell. So we also have the ability via our EDR for an admin to remote into an endpoint, even isolated, and be able to go in and do threat hunting or whatever they need to do from a managed or threat hunting standpoint. So now we're going to talk about our managed detection and response, or we also have a managed threat hunting service, but the MDR service, and just kind of go a little bit around what does that entail, and kind of, what are the reasons that we're seeing more and more customers come to us for this. So as you see, the problem, 80% of EDR alerts are not investigated. Why? Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, because I've been in those shoes, there's a lot going on in IT and security. You've got a lot of things pulling and want your attention. Those little slips in the crack or whatever, it's just human. It's the fact that, again, threat actors do not have mercy. They don't care. They don't care about what time of day it is. They don't care about what you're doing. They don't care about anything. All they care about is the money in your files and being able to leverage you. So as you see, we are familiar with this. And so we did stand up our MDR service. We built it in-house. From the ground up, and we build it around our customers' needs, and around our EDR. Like I said, just having an EDR, and I think in today's threat landscape, unless you have like a full-time SOC team or a full-time, security analyst, it just gets hard to stay on top of these threats, because like I said, they're always moving. So what does MDR do that EDR and EP and all those, that we talked about earlier? What is the value add outside of the service? This is where we give you 21 layers of protection. So we still take those same 7 layers we were talking about earlier, but it's just being able to take a human or a team really, but a human, and being able to have eyes on it, and being able to take some of the automated capabilities of using a SOAR or a security orchestrated automated response capability, and being able to get on to whatever the infection is, the case is, the threat is, and getting it taken care of as fast as possible, or what's called MTTR, mean time to respond. So some of the things that will come with our MDR service is the fact that they're going to have the ability to go in and do the actual threat hunting, live or real time. The fact that we're also taking what's called IOCs, or indicators of compromise, or IOTs, indicators of threat, and feeding in also some threat intel. So we use 3 main forms of threat intel. So we use our internal, in other words, our MalwareBytes customers. So where we go there is we take not just our customers from a business standpoint, we even take our consumer customers. In reality, if we think about it, most end users on a business environment are a consumer, or may use a computer in their home environment. So we take those, we take some that we purchase, and then also we have open source threat feeds. So we're doing our best to try to be proactive as well as reactive to particular threats. Like I said, from there, that's where those expert remediation, in other words, like I said, and when a case is open with our MDR team, a human takes it from there to finish. And then again, some of the other things, and I did mention MTH. MTH is, or managed threat hunting, is kind of take MDR, but kind of stop it before that human gets in. It's where we'll be able to alert you, look at your particular EDR events, and then give you a report back. Here's what you're seeing, but that's for a customer that just wants to kind of do it themselves. They just kind of want to know a little bit more context around what's being seen. And then one more thing I want to point out about our MDR is, if we see a threat in one environment with our customer, we're going to scan all of our MDR customers' environments. We're going to be proactive. So like I said, it's not only reacting to what's going on in your environment, but also maybe what's going on in the world, what's going on in another environment under our MDR customers, and just again, checking to make sure your environment is safe. So, some of the things that come with this, and we kind of talked about a few of these, is definitely the 24/7, 365 coverage. I think, we hear that a lot, but let me just point out something if you never thought about it. Like I said, most threat actors, now they could be American-based or same time zone as you, but at the same time, they may not be. They may be at a different time zone. So they're hitting you at 2 o'clock in the morning, you're asleep. Humans, we have to sleep. We have to take, vacation. We get sick. That's where a service like this comes in, because you basically have a team. Oh, well, you do have a team 24/7, 365. And then we just try to make it really quick to set up. We have a team that onboards you. They take care of that for you. We have, two-way communication. So we do have a portal that you can communicate with, and we're doing that from a security standpoint. Let's not do it via email in case those are compromised. We can still communicate via email, but in reality, some of the more pertinent information, we try to stay a little bit more low-keyed, where we're not kind of tipping off maybe a threat actor if they have taken over your email environment. So just real quickly, and I won't go too deep into it. One of the things I do want to point out here is with the alert, we don't just take those EDR events. We will also look at some of those endpoint protection events and see, are they precursors? And this is what I was talking about with the second phase, is where we go in and we take those particular alerts, we ingest them or bring them into our SOAR platform. We mix it with all that threat intel, and then we get into that triage and analysis. So whenever a case is opened, that's where that human will come in and start looking through and put their eyes on the particular threat and see if they can reverse engineer or maybe figure out what is going on. Because at the end of the day, hackers, threat actors, whatever you want to call them, they're still human driven. They may be using some automated technology, but it's still a human that's behind that threat. And then one more part about our MDR that is pretty neat is we give you 2 options. hey, you can have us, what we call our automated side, where, hey, the MDR team will take care of it. The only time you've got to do anything is something where we need a hands-on kind of, need. Or if you do want that manual aspect, we'll take you through, but we'll give you detailed, here are the steps you need to take to remediate. And then when it gets to closure, we're going to keep a history of that for compliance reporting needs. And that'll allow you to kind of just go back and look at what happened in your environment. So just a little bit about the modules. I mentioned the cloud storage scanning. This particular module itself, what it does is it allows you to, or us to, scan your enterprise storage buckets. So that could be currently OneDrive, Box, Google Drive. We will be looking at bringing in like Amazon S3, SharePoint or Office 365, and some other ones coming soon. But that allows us to help scan and look for those files. Most of the time, whenever you have some kind of storage, you might even be keeping a copy local and then syncing it to the cloud. This particular module, if you choose to go that route, it will have the ability to where if we find it in one location, we can quarantine it in both. That way you're not passing it back and forth and kind of reinfecting your storage capabilities. We do have the ability to quarantine things like that. And you can either do a continuous or an on-demand scan if you want to. So that's one that is available if needed, or if that is something that falls in your needs or wants. So we also have, like I mentioned earlier, the vulnerability assessment patch management, by far the most popular two modules. And to be honest with you, I very rarely see somebody purchase only one. They bundle them together because they do work together. The vulnerability assessment, what it's going to do is it's going to look at your third-party applications that are running in your environment. It's going to keep a database of those particular software that's running on each individual endpoint. Then it's going to correlate that with a known database of vulnerabilities or CVEs. And then from there, it's going to assess and give you a report. The patch management piece is going to come up from the bundling capabilities is, hey, we assessed it, we gave you a report. With the patch management part, one part of it will connect into this vulnerability assessment. And not only will we tell you, hey, this needs to be remediated or fix the vulnerability, it'll give you the ability to do it via our agent. So you don't have to go download anything, we'll take care of it for you. The other aspect of patch management is just simply going to be OS patching. So here, again, fairly straightforward, really easy to use. We'll look at the OSs. We'll tell you which updates are available, what their severities are, depending on the OS, or what their classifications are, and then you can patch those particular endpoints or all of the endpoints, depending on what you want to do. We also will show you, like example, with a particular patch. Using Windows as an example, KB whatever number will show you every endpoint that's got this module turned on for it. We'll show you everyone that could use that same exact update. And as you see here, I bulk edited in the picture, the meaning that if I want to update all of these particular endpoints, or example here, you see the different KBs, I can do them all at once and it'll take care of that. We also have a way to do a scheduled, or way to kind of automate this by you scheduling it around the time period that you want. But again, like I said, these two modules right here are by far the most popular. One more module that we'll talk about is our DNS filtering module, probably the second most popular modules. Not saying that the other ones aren't great. These are just, these two fly off the shelves. This is kind of multiple things. We see customers that want to have continuity between when the endpoint or say example, a laptop is on premise or under the environment, the physical environment. You may have a firewall, whatever it is that's doing content filtering, but the asset leaves the environment. Now it no longer has those rules in place, or for whatever reason. This is a way for you to do it. Again, all this is from one agent. It does not require you to roll out a bunch of agents, and also doesn't require you to be in multiple management consoles. It's all under one console. But like I said, with the DNS filtering block, as you see, it says continuously updated threat database. You can block by categories, so you can do it by security categories or content categories. Also, at the same time, you see it's encrypted filtering. And then you do get reports, and you can also see example, what are the top allowed domains categories, as well as block domains and categories. And you also can have reports again around what is being blocked, allowed, or you can even narrow it down to an endpoint and pull it down that way if you want to. So that is our DNS filtering. And then application block. Apologize, I didn't put writing on this one. So you know, it's just there's so much on it, honestly. So application block is more another one that's gaining a ton of steam. And it's just where you have applications in your environment. You know, from my past, I can tell you, I really wish I'd have known every application that was running in my environment, but it was almost impossible. And even if I did know it, how was I going to do something about it? So this is the way you can create rules, and the rules could state, again, depending on whatever you want. Like here in this example, you see we're blocking Adobe Reader, 32-bit version. So, you know, this is more of a block type of mentality. You know, sometimes people ask, do we have the ability to block everything and just slowly open it up? No, that's kind of more of a different, and I'd say almost it was more in the past and more so than the present. There's so many applications out there nowadays. So we give you kind of multiple ways to create these rules. You could simply just search through our database, and we have a little search capability where you can, you know, look for the particular application you know you don't want in your environment. You could also do it by a vendor. So you could pick vendor whatever, and say, I don't want any applications from this particular vendor. But we also open it up to more advanced type of capabilities. You have the ability to create a rule around a certificate, saying, hey, not only you know, the vendor, but hey, this certificate, whatever you want to do. You can do it by file properties. You still can do by file by path, and hashes as well. But all that's at your disposal. And even though it's installed on that endpoint, it's not going to run. We're going to block that executable. So this is another way to kind of keep your environment where you are managing it, you're controlling it, and you're keeping those end users, you know, along the lines of probably what your computer and internet use policies are stating. It's always better to kind of, or I come from the thought process is better to not let them do it than it is try to find out they're doing it and then try to get stronger.
So does this allow you to kind of create a application? Oh, I'm going to use probably the wrong term, but like a whitelist. So if I'm in a PCI or HIPAA space, I can lock down my environment and say, these are the applications that I want to have running in the space, and everything else is not approved to run. Is that the type of thing you could do?
No, it's the opposite. It'd be more the blacklist type of capability.
So, okay, so it's the other way. Okay, all right.
But how one of the things, that's a great question. And one of the things that I probably didn't mention, but I will mention now, is that no matter which one of those solutions that you choose, IR, EP, or EDR, one of the tabs on there is software inventory. So via your policy, you can enable that we will display to you what your software inventory is outside of these modules. So you can actually look at an endpoint and see what is running either individually on that endpoint or holistically across your environment. So example, let's just see that you, like you said, HIPAA, and I've been in those, one of the companies I protected was a HIPAA environment. And you see somebody that's got like a BitTorrent, you know, you didn't know, but because our agent's capable of showing it to you, and you also have reporting and things like that around it, you can say, oh, I see a BitTorrent. Oh, okay, I'm going to go ahead and write a rule. From there, doesn't matter. They download and install it, does not matter. It will not run because we're going to block that executable. It goes back to the application hardening I was talking about earlier, is it has to run off of some kind of application. And so, yeah, that's the approach we took there, but great question. And from here, just kind of was going to open it up, see if there was any questions or anything, you know, that I can help for at this point.
And do we have any questions? If not, I have a couple things I wanted to touch base on. Hearing none, I'll ask. So, from my experience, MalwareBytes was always the tool that you kind of had on your, you carried your little thumb drive with MalwareBytes on there, and if there's an issue, you use that to remediate. That's in the past. Today's world, would you say, and it appears that it has, but would you say that you've become more of an enterprise class tool?
Oh, I 100% would say that. And like I said, and I'm seeing it from being a user, is that I've used a lot of our competitors. And I noticed, kind of like you said, is I noticed that I had competitor A in there in a particular environment. Like I said, I had 26 of them. So I probably had about 10 or 12 solutions at one time. And we would go get the MalwareBytes consumer, and we would download it, and we would do probably, like, again, a lot of people have done in the past, or might even be trying or doing now. And we were kind of blown away with what MalwareBytes was catching. And then the light bulb went off one day for me. Wait a minute, if they can catch it after the fact, what can their real-time protection do? And so I actually was part of the basically the testing as a customer for our EDR, things like that. And then on this side, obviously, I get to see more. But yes, 100%. We are in environments. I've seen this in large environments, what would be called the middle, or what they call large enterprise, middle enterprise, SMB. And I will say our sweet spot is in that middle to SMB, type of environment. But I was, like I said, I've seen this being used in enterprise, large enterprise environments.
Well,
yeah, I 100%.
I have two separate customers and they are in the SMB space, but who had an issue. We actually used the MalwareBytes tool to remediate that issue, and then they migrated to using MalwareBytes as their EDR tool. So, the proof has been in the pudding. They have looked at other tools, to be honest, and they've stayed with MalwareBytes. So I think there's a testament to that, to the tool itself. The other thing I wanted to mention, and since you talked about MDR, I don't really want to spend a lot of time on it because you have your own MDR solution, but I have customers that integrate MalwareBytes with third-party MDRs. So I think that that's something that's of value too, where you could take advantage of the MalwareBytes EDR tool and actually integrate it with third-party MDRs as well. Again, I know we don't want to necessarily crow about that here, but I think that is, as a former VP of IT, myself, I was on the other side of the table as well, and I had to procure the tools. For me to be able to have best of breed solutions was very positive. So I think that actually is a strength of the tool, is the ability to do, kind of this space where it's super strong and well known, and then the integration point with another tool is to me a strength.
Yeah, and that was earlier, and then in that slide it's hard to put everything in here. But as you see, we have integrations with a lot of well-known tools that are out there. But also, I mentioned earlier is our syslog capabilities. Sysloging for us is really straightforward. You pick an endpoint that has the agent running on there, a high availability endpoint, if possible. And you tell us to forward whatever, our logs and our different detections and things that we have to whatever your solution is. And then just map that the way you want. And then we have really amazing APIs. So, along the lines of what you said, and I appreciate, like you said, and I think I said this at the beginning, but this is the philosophy of this company, is that we're there to play nice with our others. It's something that we just are really well known for. And our whole philosophy, and that's where those three solution stacks, you already have an endpoint protection, but you just want that second opinion. IR fits nicely. It's going to stay out of your way. It's going to do it. You can syslog with that. You can use those APIs with that. You can integrate with that. Same thing with EP. You have an EDR, but you don't have an EP aspect. Go ahead, put us alongside. Do you want to run us first? Do you want to run us second? We actually have in our policies, we have the ability for you to tell us, go first, go second. So we can sit behind your solution. We can sit in front of your solution. So even when it comes down to that, if you wanted to go to another service, or hey, you want to build it in house, again, that's just how we are designed, is to, what can we do to help you? How can we fit in your environment? Where's the good technical fit?
Let
And
me
I think
ask,
that's where a lot of companies miss that aspect.
right. Let me ask this question, and I know we didn't talk much about it, and it's probably not the focus of this one, but I kind of eat my own dog food in my personal life. As any good IT person does, I have a side hustle. And and with that, I use MalwareBytes. I purchased MalwareBytes, and I use MalwareBytes in my own space. Is the consumer grade product, this consumer products the same as what you would see in an enterprise? Is that the same product, or is there differences? Or maybe talk to that for a minute.
I'm gonna tell you, this is the best way I can answer that question, is the consumer product. We're gonna call that the cornerstone of our business. In other words, the technology and the agent, or the capabilities, let me say, are the same. Now the difference is consumers have different threats than business. So obviously there's way more business threats, or different types of business threats. That's where the business aspect takes a whole new level. But I have it on my home computer. Go figure. But when you go through the policies on your consumer, it's no different types of policies than you get in our business aspect. But again, we turn on more. EDR is not something an end user would know necessarily in the consumer space. So yes, I think that there is an extreme amount of
I do notice a difference. I mean, to be frank, I was using AVG in the past, and whatever, but I'm noticing a lot more. MalwareBytes is catching a lot more stuff, things that I wasn't experiencing before, and it just seems to be, like I said, notifying and blocking and doing a lot more of those types of things than other products that I've used in the past.
Well, and I'll tell you, this is one of the things that you mentioned, but I'm gonna kind of give it another way to kind of look at, or at least what's the, lack of a better word, secret sauce on the back end. Like I said, we were always the second one, so we were always cleaning up after others. So we learned a lot about what they missed. That's what I had up the remediation map earlier, is just simply, and you can go to malwarebytes.com/remediation map, one word, and you can watch this. You can refresh it. You'll see it's live data. But you'll see it's where somebody's got an AV solution, and they put us in there and we go find it. And the thing is we train our technology to not only just go find that executable, but what all did it do? Go get everything. I always call it the cookie and the crumbs. You eat a cookie, no one sees the cookies, but where do they find you? From the crumbs. We go find the cookie we get rid of the cookie and we vacuum up all those crumbs for you. And that's where we've been huge. And from a business aspect, I think that's where, again, that we just took a little different route. It was the way that we, our technology was, again, designed. A lot of proprietary stuff. But I can say this, we very rarely get anybody that tells us, hey, you can't find what everybody else can find.
Yeah.
Just what you said, I get that on a daily basis. MalwareBytes can catch what other people don't, or find.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting thing, and I think it's there's a good story to be told there as we think about the transition from being that, like I said, that tool that everybody had on their USB drive, that was kind of the technician's toolkit, to now, kind of thinking of it as an enterprise class, tool. So I think, like I said, that's an interesting story to tell. It's got to be a little bit of a challenge to overcome that perception, and to kind of work around overcoming that perception of being kind of this, kind of niche player, if you will, to being kind of a mainstream enterprise tool. But like I said, and even in the customers I've had, I've seen it, where we have like small, medium-sized businesses, who are like, yeah, don't take it away. We want this, type of a thing. So I think that's a testament to the tool itself.
No, I think you hit the nail on the head. It's I'm apologize. I'm probably going to use the wrong word, but I think this is right. It's like when an actor is it typecasted?
Yeah.
They were known for a particular movie or show, and people just can't fathom them doing a different type of role.
Yeah, like Gilligan
exactly
could never do Shakespeare, right?
Yeah. So I think everybody knew, because we were born out of consumer, and we really, we really kind of
and so strong in that space. I mean, that's the thing, is it's so strong in that space. Now to step out another one, how do you transcend that and become thought of in an enterprise class solution? And it's just kind of carrying the message out and helping people see that the tool itself does quite well in that space. And I think leveraging those third-party integrations are another piece of it, because in my experience, I've done it for a while. I have a lot of white hair in my beard, and the thing is that there's very few tools I've seen that do everything the best, right? So to me, the solution tends to be best of breed point solutions. And if you can do kind of something the best, but you integrate with others, that seems to be a way to build strength. And I think that, in a lot of ways so far, I've seen that with MalwareBytes, where focus on this one thing. I mean, you do other stuff, but there is a core competency there that we really can't deny. So it's play to that strength.
That's
So
100% correct. You
Yep.
layer in security. We don't just put one thing in and it does everything. You
Right.
layer it in, but you said it properly and correct, you layer it in, but you kind of a little bit overlap, so you can make sure that they're covering each
Yeah.
other a little bit here and there. But if you can build that correct security stack, life gets a lot easier for you. Does it mean that you're 100% perfect, or that you'll never, ever, ever have an issue? No,
Yeah.
you just took down your risk profile, and that's what it's all about.
Right. It is
Lessen the
interesting.
probabilities.
It is interesting to me that those customers that I have who have the tool are they're fervently in favor of the tool. Like they love the tool, so that speaks to the quality of it and the abilities. So
Well, Whitney and Sam, I'll tell you, and I think Alex as well, it's hard for sometimes us to even travel or fly because they see the MalwareBytes logo and everybody wants to talk to you about MalwareBytes, which is
Right.
great for us. We love it, but
Right.
it is hilarious because I go places and I normally I'm logoed up when I'm flying or I'm traveling, and I love when somebody stops me and says, "Hey, you work for MalwareBytes?" Yes. Oh man, I use it here, and it's a lot of
Right.
fun. But I think, like I said, brand recognition, that logo is known.
Right. Very good. Yeah, with that, if does anybody else have any questions? Hearing none, Piper, do you want to get to the wheel of death, happiness, and joy? Wait,
You're on mute.
happiness and joy? Yeah, you're on mute, Piper. So are we spinning for a Amazon card? We're still muted, Piper.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
Everybody must have missed the bit where I countered your wheel of death. Fun and adventure, as we like to call it. Can you see my screen?
We can see your screen,
All right,
yes.
perfect. All right, let's give a little drum roll. Tim, gotta kick the wash
Tim.
out of the way for once.
All right, Tim. $10 gift card from Amazon for Tim.
Wonderful.
So thank you for just for the record, the wheel of death does exist.
It does.
So
He found the real.
I
wheel
was
of death.
I was told the wheel of death is a bit too dark and foreboding for our feel good sessions here. So the wheel of happiness and joy. But very good. If anybody has questions about MalwareBytes or they want to learn more, get a hold of me and I'll hook you up with the team, and we can get you more information, and hopefully we can have you guys back again and talking to us. So,
We'd love to. Thank you so much for having us.
very good. Thank you very much. Everyone have a good rest of the week. Take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.